I'm Inside and I saw Scooby Doo, Where Are You? Season 2, Episode 1. It's produced by Hanna-Barbera. This is Nowhere to Hide. If you haven't seen this episode, I will spoil it for you. And also, I should mention that I am in Washington State right now. I was born and raised in Washington State. Lived here for like 19 years. And then I moved down, so now I'm back in here. And you know what's interesting about the state? There's a lot of trees, but there's a lot of different types of trees compared to Kentucky. I mean, this Washington State has a lot of pine trees, a lot of evergreen trees, versus Kentucky has a lot of deciduous trees. You know, the trees are different, and it's fun observing it. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm in Washington. This episode starts, there's a guy, his name is Mr. Hyde, and he's a big old jewel thievery. And he does a little jewel thief, and then you know what he does? He hides in the back of the Scooby Doo van, and I'm just watching this like, why are you doing this? Come on, man, why you gotta be like this? And then the freaking Scooby Doo van crew be like, oh, let's go to the van, and then they go to the van, and then it's like, oh, we're not even gonna notice that there's a big old lump of something underneath this blanket. Like, you didn't notice this, Scooby-Doo? And they don't notice it until, you know, they notice it, and they're like, oh, you know, and then they go to a place, and wow, there's another guy there doing a little committing of the terror. And I'm like, oh no, wow, Mr. Hyde is here, he's doing the terrorisms, and also the Jenkins guy. That guy's also doing the terrorism. And so this freaking episode, it's very fast-paced, I gotta mention. Like, each beat is pretty much set up like as long as it takes to set up the beat is how long the scene is, which I really appreciate, because like, oh, the Scooby-Doo gang is in the van, and then if I say that sentence out loud, the entire shot establishing that information is that exact length of the sentence. So I really appreciate that. I definitely see that there's a lot more fast-pacedness in this season of Scooby-Doo already compared to the last season of Scooby-Doo. And you know, I'm liking it. It also seems like the art is it's more polished. There's less like coloring errors, or at least in this episode there's less coloring errors. Although I do like how we still have the classic Scooby-Doo structure of having Shaggy and Scooby split up from the rest of the gang, and they are like, oh, let's go protect this food, let's protect these fruits, and then wow, the monster's there, and they gotta go run, and they scream, and originally Fred and the other people, Daphne and Velma, are like, yo, where are they at though? And then they come up, they go, will scream, ah, and then Fred investigates some more. And I'm like, Fred, we're such a brave soul. Why are you always having it so Shaggy and Scooby's are separate from you guys? They're like the most scared fellows in this group. I honestly don't understand why they split up in this way. I feel like if having Velma next to Scooby and Shaggy would help them. It would help them be less scared. But I guess them needing to be scared is like, oh, well, this is where the monster's at actually. I can hear it by the scream. But what do you think? That's just my theory on why they split up in the way that they do. If you got any theories of your own about Scooby-Doo, let me know in the comments below. This episode is pretty straightforward. While they do a little chase, they go chase, it's fun. Honestly, the Mr. Hyde is pretty cool. He's a green guy. He's a green guy, but everything else about this episode is not the most memorable to me. Like, I literally watched this like 20 minutes ago, and the green guy is the what I remember, and also the cool house, and that was cool. I liked that a lot. But otherwise, this is just a nice, fast-paced episode of Scooby-Doo. I think it's well-paced. Also, there's nice character moments, like at the very end when they capture the guy and they're like, oh wow, I can't believe it was you, oh my goodness gracious. And then it's like, the guy's like, oh, well, I would have not been caught if it weren't for you meddling kids. And I'm like, yeah, get him, meddling kids, gotta get him. And at this moment when I heard this line, I'm like, oh man, I've heard this line a lot because it's been repeated over and over and again at the end of each Scooby-Doo episode. If this line was never repeated, or maybe repeated inconsistently, I don't think this episode or, you know, anything pertaining to any episode of Scooby Doo for that matter, especially that line, would not be remembered ever at all. Scooby Doo wouldn't be as iconic as it is if it didn't have the staples to keep it consistent. So this is just, it's all right. It's an all right episode. There's a lot of moments where I'm like, yeah, I guess, okay. I know I see them running. I guess I don't necessarily want to see them running, because it's just like, okay, well, you could put something else there. But this is Scooby Doo. This is not for me. I'm not a child. This is for children, literal children. So I understand the need to have animation there that's like portraying them running. I'm just like, I don't know, add some cool action scenes. If you have a Scooby Doo recommendation, leave them down in the comments below. I gotta give this movie a solid, this is not a movie, I gotta give this episode a solid 6.9 out of 10. This is a nice episode. That's why I gave it that. 6.9 out of 10. If you like this review, watch another one. YouTube really likes that. If you want to fast track a movie review, you can do that for $20 dinos at patreon.com/ASEPresents. And if you'd like to help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews, go to this link tree, find the way you can help support the daily grindiness of all them daily movie reviews. So you can go here. And until next time, mint salad sauce, I'll see you later, my sour croutons and bacon bits. And I want to show you what that guy did at the very end, well, at the very beginning of Scooby Doo, at the very end of this review. Let me show you.